Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is absolutely foundational to who we are as human beings, and that's prehistoric tracking. Now, it's really easy to just write tracking off as this basic physical chore, just something you had to do to get dinner. But doing that completely misses an incredible cognitive leap. Tracking was arguably the very foundation of human reasoning. It was the first time we ever started taking these tiny, seemingly insignificant fragments of data and using them to build complex, invisible models of the world around us. So, put yourself directly in the shoes of our ancestors for a second. How exactly do you hunt an animal that you can't even see? We're talking about an animal that might be miles away, moving fast, completely out of sight, and totally out of earshot. That right there, that specific puzzle, is what drove the evolution of the human mind. Just imagine it. You're walking across this dry, totally unforgiving landscape. There's absolutely no road under your feet, no map in your hand. There's no GPS telling you where a herd of animals just went, and definitely no smartphone to recalculate your route when you take a wrong turn. Ahead of you, it's just a wide, empty valley, and finding animals out here could literally determine whether your entire group gets to eat that day. But the ground looks completely barren. The animal itself is utterly invisible to you. You could be staring at this wide expanse of dirt and grass, and yet, that very ground might hold the secret that a massive herd passed through just a couple of hours earlier. And there's this profound difference in how we perceive that exact same patch of dirt. To you or me, or honestly, any inexperienced observer, a broken twig or a tiny, shallow mark in the soil is just scenery. We see nothing. But to an expert hunter, those tiny marks are a highly readable message. They don't just see dirt. They see a timeline. They see movement. They see a literal prediction of where that animal is heading next. Section 1. Reading the landscape. Decoding nature. Because here's the thing, prehistoric hunters were dealing with a staggering amount of data in real time. The landscape itself was the evidence. A hunter was processing broken vegetation, disturbed soil, dung, a stray hair, feathers, feeding marks, even slightly displaced pebbles. They were reading everything the animal changed. The environment wasn't just some passive backdrop anymore. It became this rich historical record that was just waiting to be decoded. Let's actually break down the cognitive logic of the trail. Step 1 is the mark. That's finding that initial piece of evidence in the dirt which tells you where an animal was. Then, step 2 is finding the sequence. One footprint becomes a trail, and that tells you exactly how the animal moved. Step 3 incorporates the environment, which is huge because this tells you the why. Why did it move there? Was it looking for water, avoiding a steep drop-off? And finally, step 4 is the prediction. By combining the mark, the sequence, and the environment, our ancestors could actually anticipate the animal's future action. They were quite literally predicting the future based on the invisible traces of the past. Section 2. The first scientists. Testing hypotheses. Back in 2001, the anthropologist Louis Liebenberg published some truly groundbreaking research on modern hunter-gatherers, specifically the Juhwansi San in southern Africa. And he defined their tracking as a form of what he called practical reasoning. Tracking isn't just basic visual recognition. It's this deep cognitive process of taking totally incomplete evidence and constructing the most likely explanation. Think about it kind of like walking into your living room and noticing a chair has been moved. You didn't see who moved it, but your brain instantly infers what happened from the evidence. A prehistoric tracker was doing that exact same thing, but on a massive, landscape-wide scale, constantly testing their interpretation against brand new data. Let's look at how this builds in real time in a tracker's mind. Imagine an animal jumps onto some hard ground and suddenly the tracks just disappear. For an amateur, the trail is totally dead. But for an expert, that disappearance itself is actually data. They'll analyze a bent stem or displaced pebble to form a brand new hypothesis. When they're trying to age a trail, they'll evaluate how much a disturbed plant has recovered just to estimate the time that passed. And when prey's acting unpredictable, they're recalling past water sources and continuously updating their mental model. If a trail changes direction, well, their previous prediction was wrong, so they instantly revise their model and keep moving. It is continuous, high-level scientific testing in action. Section 3. Shared intelligence. Group tracking. And this cognitive technology is incredibly ancient and honestly super adaptable. 500,000 years ago at Box Grove, humans were already hunting large prey. 300,000 years ago at Schöningen, we see crafted spears. Fast forward to 120,000 years ago, there's repeated ecosystem use at Classy's River. 100,000 years ago, we find symbolic patterns at Blumbo's Cave, and by 12,000 years ago in Siberia, you're seeing highly specialized landscape hunting adapted to the freezing cold. I actually want to focus on that site at Schöningen for a second. Archaeologists found wooden throwing spears there that were over 2 meters long. 2 meters! And these weren't just some sharpened branches, they were highly engineered weapons. But here is the real catch. Before you can even throw a 2-meter spear, you have to find the animal first, you have to anticipate its movements, predict its behavior, and position yourself absolutely perfectly. So the mere existence of these massive weapons proves that deep, predictive planning and tracking were happening long before that spear ever left the hunter's hand. And at some point, tracking stopped being just one person's isolated skill. Picture a group moving across a landscape together. Person 1 notices the physical tracks. Person 2 remembers, hey, there was a seasonal water source located here last year. Person 3 recognizes the specific feeding behavior, and Person 4 knows exactly what the upcoming terrain looks like. No single person needed to hold the entire picture in their head. They were combining one person's memory with another person's observation. It evolves into this incredible shared intelligence, passed down through generations. A single person's observation literally became group knowledge, which then became tradition, making every subsequent generation that much better at reading the world around them. Which really brings us to this powerful realization. The real technology of tracking was not the footprint. It was the mind interpreting the footprint. This knowledge wasn't stored in some book or on a map or in a database. It was stored in people. Thousands of years before written maps ever existed, humans carried these incredibly detailed, unwritten maps right inside their memories. They were combining observation, planning, memory, and just intense cooperation. Intelligence wasn't just something happening quietly inside their heads, it was something they actively extracted from the ground. So I want to leave you with one final, pretty provocative thought to ponder. We've seen how our ancestors survived and evolved by turning these tiny fragments of dirt and broken twigs into vast, predictive models of their world. They survived by mastering the invisible. So my question to you is this. If our incredible human intelligence was forged by deeply reading the invisible traces of the past, what traces in our modern world are we completely failing to read today? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating topic with me. Keep observing, keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.